All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the October 18th, 2023 Technical Review Committee meeting. It's 1 o'clock. We'll call this meeting in session. My name is Ryan Fisher. I'm a senior planner with Oldham County Planning and Development. The purpose of the Technical Review Committee meeting is to review proposed subdivisions, zoning map amendments, and development plans before they go to the Planning Commission. This gives local agencies and utility companies that will provide services the opportunity to review those plans, discuss and comment about the accessibility of services, and ensure all aspects of the development plans adhere to zoning and subdivision regulations. This meeting also provides adjoining property owners and concerned citizens in attendance the opportunity to ask technical questions of the applicants or agencies that are represented here before you today. We do have one item on the docket today that is 23-012 for a proposed Goodwill in LaGrange at the 2000 block of South Highway 53. So the way this will run is we'll give the applicant a chance to come forward and give a brief overview of their application. The agencies that are represented here before you then will give their agency comments, and then if there's anybody in the audience that would care to comment from the public comment portion, they can come forward and ask questions or that would be technical in nature of either the applicant or the agencies represented. So with that being said, the applicant can come forward at this time. We'll just ask you to state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Don Williams, attorney, 105 South 1st Street, LaGrange, and I'm assisting Goodwill Industries in this project. I'm not trained in the details, but I have with me Goodwill Industry officials. I have only two people here today to talk. The first is John Eller, E-L-L-E-R. He's a real estate and construction director for the region for Goodwill Industries. He has some specifics. And we also have one of our project engineers, a Miss Zachary, who signed in, who's also available to talk on behalf of the architectural engineering and other topics that come up today. So Mr. Eller would be the person to speak unless the panel has other questions they want to start with. I don't know how you want to proceed.
Okay. I mean, if you all have anything you want to present before agencies make the comments, you're more than welcome to come forward.
Anything you want to add that you haven't already added? Oh, Brandy is available. This is Brandy Zachary, who I don't know how to spell her name. But she does.
Hello. Brandy Zachary with Arnold Consulting Engineering. Do you need my address?
Yes, please.
Okay. We have a post office box, but our physical address is 1136 South Park Drive, Bowling Green, Kentucky. I just wanted to say I'm happy to answer. I think you've been working with Daniel Whitley from my office. I'll be the engineer of record, and I've been working with Daniel on the plans, so I'm familiar with them. He did forward over to me late yesterday afternoon, I think something, Ron, that you had sent him from the neighbors, and we had that, and I think we've addressed all of those already in the plans, but I'm happy to answer any technical questions up front. Just a brief summary, this is obviously for construction of a new building out next to the O'Reilly's building. Part of what we are doing and have agreed to do is the regional drainage basin that was constructed and maybe even some modifications done to it during the construction of the O'Reilly's. In doing the survey for this project, it was found some of those items were not constructed exactly per plans when the O'Reilly's was constructed. And so part of our plan set does go correct those items to get that basin back to where the way it was supposed to be based on the original design to begin with. But I'm happy to answer any technical questions if you guys have any.
All right. Thank you. Do you have anything you need to add, or you good for right now?
Only thing, just in addressing the Crystal Lake.
Just your name and address for the record,
sorry.
please.
John Eller, Goodwill Industries of Kentucky, 1325 South 4th Street, Louisville, 40208. But just in proactively addressing the Crystal Lake community letter, I think we're more than willing to accommodate almost all of those items. The only one that we have trouble with is the hours that they asked to change. because we are consistent across the state in our hours, and it's difficult for us to change that on a one-off basis. But I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
That's it.
Yep. So at this point, we'll allow the agencies represented here before you to provide their comments. You did already mention the Crystal Lake one. I do have another copy of that letter if you all need one for your files. And then as far as my comments, I don't really have anything other than a separate detailed and landscape and lighting plan will be required at construction plan approval. Other than that, everything else on the plans looked great, other than, have to have those at construction plan approval. We'll go down to Jim Silliman now, County Engineer.
Yes, and we've been in coordination with Daniel Whitley and others through this process. As you mentioned, Ms. Zachary, about the detention basin. One thing I did observe, and of course you will be required to get the stormwater quality management and erosion control permit from Oldham County, and we'll review the construction plans further at that time. You indicated a restrictor plate being placed on the detention basin. I think that's partially, obviously, to address the flow concerns of the adjacent neighbors, one of Crystal Lake's concerns. We'd also like to see removal of the riprap berm that was placed there and reconstructing that earthen, because I think one of the other problems is we've observed seepage through that riprap. It's not containing the water well enough, so replacing that with an earth berm and an appropriate spillway, we can look into that. And a lot of these we can get into more detail with the construction plan review. You've submitted a set of plans that's in much more detail and comprehensive than what we normally have for TRC. We'd also coordinated with KYTC. A traffic impact study was provided, and we determined, KYTC and Oldham County determined that any improvements to the state highway were not feasible, understanding the trips generated and the trip distribution for this project. I think you're aware of that. However, the accesses, you're not connecting to the state highway directly. You're accessing the adjacent properties. Do you know if you've been able to secure easement from those two adjoining properties for your traffic flow to go through?
I will say, and this was back several years ago, but from memory, I'm trying to see if it shows on here, but from memory, I thought whenever they did the O'Reillys that they actually had easements secured for that corner then. But I will go back and just confirm. I don't know if there was a plat recorded or just like an ingress egress, reciprocal easement document recorded or what happened there.
Right, and if it's connecting to the Mortensen side, I can't remember if they had one either, but if you can show those on the plans, that would solve that.
Okay.
With regard to the pervious pavers, we had discussed the use of those in order to address the impervious to pervious surface ratio, and
Yes.
the maximum allowable. However, the way it's designed with the underdrain, it seems to kind of contradict the intent of the natural pervious surface, because it's going to speed the flow to the basin. So again, during construction plan review, I'd like to review the actual performance of that to make
Okay.
sure that we're not, we'll say, overburdening the basin with that. With the basin, we had discussed, as you're doing the improvements to this also, I think we agreed that Goodwill would maintain the basin in the future.
That was my understanding, yes.
Right, so I guess we'll get the stormwater maintenance agreement.
Updated.
Will be updated, and we just have to have that done by the time we release the erosion control bond at the end of construction, so there's plenty of time for that. I'm not sure how you all will handle that with ownership, though, but sounds like you're ready for that.
Okay.
I'll kind of skip some of the other, again, because this is a full set of plans. I'll give you this letter and a red line set of plans with some of the other
Okay, perfect.
more technical, very detailed technical questions. So those are the general ones I wanted to speak about today. So that's all.
All right, and I've got a copy of our comments as well as Jim Sullivan's comments
Okay,
for you at the end,
okay.
and then he'll get you a red line sent
Okay,
to you.
perfect.
Matt Toller?
I don't have any comments on it for now. We'll give it an address when it gets further down the line.
Okay.
Scott Treese with LaGrange Utilities Commission?
Yeah, I had spoke with your firm a few times over the course of the last few months. Couple of things. The water main, you all had expressed that you needed to have fire service in the building. So, and I did see on your plans, you show it coming across 53, which is where it would need to come from for that fire service. You'll need, that's a state highway, so you'll need to coordinate with KYTC. Also, our specifications will apply as far as the water main construction itself. I'm certain the fire department is going to want a hydrant on there. I did note on there you showed a 6-inch, 8 inches our minimum on extending the water main. And then are you going to do a separate fire service into the building, or will it, how do you plan to, how is that? I didn't see on the plans where that.
Typically, we always propose a separate line. Is that how you, okay, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll have we've got a fire service vault detail that we'll need to, that you'll just need to get with us
Okay.
to get on that. I do not believe that we'll have to submit any of this to Division of Water, being it's one hydrant and one customer. I'll verify that, but I don't think we'll have to submit plans to them, just to us for
Okay.
review.
Okay,
And of course, then our tap fees and associated fees that go along with that. These sewer will have to be and we discussed this, will have to be a pump system.
Yes.
We do have some of those in stock if you are in need of one that we can sell, but that will be the responsibility of Goodwill to maintain.
okay.
Keith Smith, LaGrange Fire and Rescue Department, and just like Scott said, I will be requiring a hydrant on that property. Much like your Crestwood, I don't know if you are familiar with that one. You have the fire department connection on the rear of the building. I may want to, instead of having it actually on the building, do a remote. Have it away from the building a little bit. I'll get back with you on that. And then another small item, we're going to require a Knox box, to be on that property as well. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you. So that concludes our agency comments. I don't see anybody in the crowd, so I don't know if I need to ask for public comment, but I guess I will for the record. Seeing nobody that is willing to speak, that concludes this meeting, unless you all have anything else you all need to add.
Well, we didn't want to deny the homeowners association their written summary, and I think we've addressed most of that already.
Yeah, and I
We
can
don't
just,
object to
I
them
can
not
run,
sending
I can run through that really quick if we want, just so that it's on the record in case
Yeah,
they
you can.
call.
And I have placed a copy with the clerk for the record, so.
Okay. So just in general, the letter that we received that Ryan forwarded over from Crystal Lake community, their main concern appeared to be the detention pond. And based on the items that they listed, my belief is that the adjustments that we're going to make to the basin should address all of those issues. There were numerous things that, per the original design and what got constructed, was incorrect, which is, I'm sure, causing a lot of those flow problems. I know the original proposal was calling for an 8-inch outlet pipe of that basin, and based on our survey, what actually got constructed was a 12-inch. So it was letting the water out much faster than it should have been. We're actually proposing to put the restrictor plate on it, which will slow that down to a 6-inch outlet.
What's interesting is if you look at the outlet where it actually comes out of the berm, it's a 12-inch, but on the inside of the outlet structure, it's an 8. So somewhere in that berm, it transitions from an 8 to a 12. So it actually is built, we'll say, per plan as it's flowing out of the structure. I don't know why it transitions, but it is an 8. That doesn't mean that we don't want you to also do the 6, because even at the 8, we're
It was a little
experiencing
too
some
much,
issues.
yeah.
Right.
And also, too, I noticed that in reviewing the design versus the survey for this project, it did not look like the low-flow orifice was installed on the water quality unit either. So it was likely allowing water into those outlet structures much faster. Well, it definitely is allowing it into those structures much faster than it should have been allowing it to begin with, which would also in turn control the outflow when we get those items corrected.
Well, right, we observed some seepage during a rain event, so
Okay.
there's some work that needs to be done to that
Okay.
basin, and that's what, you all are helping with.
And then, so that was basically the comments on the basin. There was one comment about a fence. We will get that fence added to that final landscape plan that we're going to be submitting, which is along, I think, the shared property line between the subdivision and the development. And then, John already, so their last comment was requesting that operation hours be changed, and John has already spoke to that, so.
And then, would you also agree that they had a comment about the Watkins property, which is adjoining to the northeast? And really, I think that because you've got curb encompassing your entire parking lot, all the stormwater gets captured and routed directly to the basin, so there shouldn't be that stormwater directed to that property, and I think that addresses that concern.
Yes, that should address that as well. I'm not certain if they're just getting some runoff existing that's coming down on their property, but yes, you are correct, because along their whole property line, anytime there is a paved surface, it's got curb and gutter, which is going to be directing it to either pervious paver sections or drainage structures or something that would get it to the basin. So the only thing that would just be any kind of slope that slopes down toward their property, like an earthen berm. If the rainfall falls on it, it's going to flow on down. That should be it.
Thank you very much for addressing those comments as well. And if nobody has anything else, that will conclude this meeting. So we'll call this meeting adjourned at 1:17. Thank you.